Hello, this is James here, Thrive consultant from Cambridge, and I've got Will with me. Will recently completed the Thrive program successfully, and I'm very pleased to say that Will's agreed to do a little video testimonial for us. So hello, Will.
Hello.
Okay, well, shall we just start off by you just giving a little overview of what the presenting issue was?
So in a word, depression, which I think is why a lot of people come to this program. So it really started with, it started while I was still at university, but I ended up dropping out of university, and I found it quite difficult to socialise, and it wasn't just things like going out to parties or whatever, because lots of people can be introverted but still nice to the people they are talked to, and still quite happy. So it was to the extent that I would avoid talking to my housemates even. So if I could hear that they were in the kitchen, I wouldn't go to the kitchen, which sounds really odd, but that's kind of how bad it was. And at the same time, while I dropped out of uni, I was sort of I wasn't very honest with some members of my family and other people who I should have been honest with about my situation and what I was doing for work and things like that, which makes you feel quite guilty. Obviously I did do something wrong, but when you're sort of plagued with feelings of guilt, you also start to think it can't get better, or you just kind of beat yourself up about it. At the start of the Thrive program, you take a series of sort of quizzes just to look at some of your attributes, I guess, and this will start to make sense. It might just sound like a bunch of numbers at the moment, but so when I started the Thrive program, I had a locus of control of 16 out of 20, which is very high. No, out of 30, isn't it?
It's out of 30.
Yes. But it's still very high.
Yeah.
The self-esteem of 25% and social anxiety of 70%.
Okay, that's good. I'd just like to ask you another question at this point, just for the viewers, really, Will. Can you just explain, because people might not realise this, but can you just explain what locus of control is and what is significant about the score?
So it's locus of control. So it's basically the question of how much control you imagine you have over your own life. So whether you put things down to mostly to things you can't control, like I don't like how the weather is today, so that makes you feel bad, or you rely, not that drugs can't do anything, but you rely on drugs and medication. So if it's if you rely on things that are sort of outside of you, outside of your control, then it's said that you have an external locus of control.
Okay. Yeah, excellent. And that's changed considerably for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, so the locus of control now out of 30 is 4 now after 6 weeks, or 7 weeks really, when I redid the quiz. And those 3 things I mentioned really tie into each other. So the self-esteem is now 80%, which is great, and social anxiety is down to 25%, which is, there's still things to work on, and that's one of the important things, is that it's only the start really. Once you've gone through the 6 weeks, there's always going to be more to it. Better yourself on.
Yeah, excellent. No, I think you're right. You know, you have made tremendous progress. But yes, you're not the finished article yet, Will. You know, you're not quite out of the woods, but you are doing extremely well, which is fantastic. So how are things for you now?
Well, I've already mentioned those scores, so those hopefully say quite a lot. But sort of to give an idea of where I am with social anxiety, some of the things that I've done on the Thursday just gone, I went down to London at a university where they have kind of a debating or a discussion or reading group that they're going through a big old economics book called Das Kapital. So I gave an introduction to the session that we were going through chapter 3. And it was certainly challenging. I spent most of the time like that, looking down at my notes, like I might be doing now. But I got through it, and it went well. And there were some really clever people in the room who were still noting things down they hadn't thought of, which is a nice feeling. And the discussion was really good. So yeah, that went excellently. Had a performance on Saturday. Classical guitar is my big thing. It's my instrument I play most of the time, and so I had a performance with the Cambridge Guitar Orchestra on Saturday, and I can still remember a lot of the mistakes we made as a group, but overall it was a really good performance, really good experience. Got some great feedback from the audience, and my parents were there, and one thing my mum said to me afterwards was, "It's the first time I've seen you perform, and you've looked organised and comfortable, and you've looked to be enjoying it." I'd even dare to say I think I enjoyed it more than some of the people who've been playing in that group for years, just because I was able to not spend the whole time looking down at the music and sort of frowning at the music. I could look around at the rest of the orchestra to get an idea of sort of the counterpoint and what else is going on, and watch the conductor as well, and look up at the audience once in a while. And we've got another thing in London tomorrow, which is a job. I haven't found any full-time work yet, which is what I'm hoping to find. I've been doing some volunteering, which is I find it's not challenging enough, but it's hopefully leads to something good. But yeah, I've got another job in London tomorrow with an event I'm helping out. I hope that gives an impression of how good things are.
I think it gives a very, very good impression. You've given an excellent couple of examples there of how you've overcome your social anxiety, how you're developing confidence in yourself, and finding some really, really good evidence to show yourself how well you're doing, which is fantastic. So thank you very much for that. Will, what advice would you give to somebody in a similar situation to you who might be thinking of doing the Thrive program?
So I would say, if you're quite a self-motivated sort of person, first of all, well done, because that's an attribute a lot of people envy. So if you are quite self-motivated and you're good at studying or good at reading, I'd say the Thrive book itself, that on its own would be really helpful, and you'll be able to understand most of the ideas in there and hopefully put them to practice. If that's not the case, if you procrastinate a lot and you're not really motivated by anything at the moment, then, which is probably a part of the reason why a lot of people do start, then I'd say having a consultant is the most helpful thing, just because well, there's a few reasons, but one is that they give you some useful feedback, but they also it only lasts for 6 sessions, and then you can have a couple more after that if you want, but they don't make you rely on them, which sometimes you might feel the need to if you're relying on talking therapy for years and years, or medication as well. So you have to work through the book, but trust yourself more than you trust your consultant.
Absolutely. I mean, I must admit, I mean, working with you, Will, has been an absolute delight. The quality of our conversations has been really, really stimulating for me, and you've brought a huge amount to the sessions. And I think one of the reasons why you've overcome your depression and found your motivation and got a lot more confidence, because of the effort that you have personally put in. You always did the work, you always read the chapters that you were asked to read, and also you had an open and questioning mind. You know, we talked about psychological foundations, and I remember you saying how a skyscraper might wobble a little bit, but that actually makes it even more stronger in a way. It kind of bends and moves as it deals with what challenges it in a way. And I think that's been hugely important. You've thought a great deal about the concepts in the book and the issues that we've discussed. You brought a lot to the table and took ownership of it, which is hugely important.
Is that it's not, especially if you have trouble reading or something like that, it's not necessarily going to be easy all the time. You do have to put some hard work in, but that's a good place to start on getting yourself motivated on getting stuff where you want it to be. So it actually helps to have some hard work to do. Yeah, you want to be challenged, don't you? You enjoy it and you like learning, and you were very, very determined to overcome the issues that you had at the beginning of the programme, which is fantastic. Is there anything else that you'd like to say, Will? So what's there anything else? Oh yeah. So it was in the first or second session we had. You gave me a little book called a gratitude journal where you can write down things that you're grateful for. And in the Thrive book, there's a couple of studies. That's quite distracting, isn't it? There's a couple of studies.
It's bound to happen, wasn't it?
Yeah. There's a couple of studies from people who've done something similar and have found it's helped their quite serious health problems is recognising positive things and telling someone that they're grateful for them. And I found that really helps because it seemed a bit unrealistic at first when you're feeling so awful that that the things you normally enjoy you don't enjoy. Like playing guitar, I had an issue where I couldn't really practice for more than 15 minutes a day, something like that, where I used to do quite happily 2 hours in a day. You're just able to think of, every day you're able to think of something you're grateful for. So that's something you can just start now by yourself, is once a day write down a couple of things, good things that have happened, or something you're grateful for, which could be the weather. But that reminds me of another thing I wanted to say, which goes back to this issue of locus of control. So the idea of how much control you imagine yourself having over your life rather than external factors. So a few weeks ago, I got up and I wanted to go for a walk, but I opened the window and I thought, oh, what miserable weather. It was raining and it was really windy. It looked like you could hardly walk through without falling over. But then I thought to myself, I remembered about this idea which you hear about early on in the Thrive programme, which is of belief systems, and how everything you believe in, you've learned to believe it at some point. So I thought, well, maybe it's not miserable weather. Maybe I've just learned that windy and rain is miserable. Whereas if I don't think of it like that, I might just enjoy the walk, and it might turn out to be as nice as some lovely sunny weather. So yeah, those are the two. Those are the other things I suppose to mention. The gratitude journal, just finding things to be thankful for, and then after a while you won't even have to look that hard. And I think the Thrive program can put you out of your comfort zone and make you question your own ways of thinking and your own sort of belief systems, which will be harder for some people than others, but it's a really useful challenge, I think.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Will, and thanks again for the time that you've taken to make this little video testimonial. Thank you very much.